Hello and welcome. Have you ever just stopped and looked at, say, a giant whale and then a tiny mushroom and thought, what could those two possibly have in common? Well, it turns out they actually follow the exact same set of rules that defines all life. And in this explainer, we're going to crack open that secret rule book. So let's dive right in.
So let's just start with this question right here. What do you, a person, have in common with a mushroom? I know, it sounds a little strange, but the answer to this question actually gets us to some of the biggest secrets in all of biology. Just stick with me, and I promise you'll know exactly what connects you to that fungus.
You see, it turns out that all life, no matter how wild and different it looks on the outside, is playing by the same rule book. You can think of these as the official membership requirements for the I'm Alive Club. There are 7 of them, and they connect every single living thing on this planet. I mean, just think about what your body's doing this very second, without you even asking it to. It's keeping your temperature just right, it's turning your lunch into fuel, it's reacting to everything around you. Well, those things, having order, adapting, responding, regulating, processing energy, growing, and reproducing, those aren't just things we do. They are the 7 non-negotiable laws for any form of life, whether it's a mushroom or a massive blue whale.
But here's the thing. Life isn't just a jumbled mess of things following these rules. Oh no, it is incredibly beautifully organized. And to really get it, we need to imagine we have this super powerful zoom lens, and we're going to start zooming down, level by level, through this huge organizational ladder.
Now, the technical term for this ladder is a hierarchy. It's really just a fancy way of saying a system where things are ranked and ordered in a chain. And this high degree of order is probably the most basic, fundamental characteristic of life. Everything has a place, and every single level is built on the one right below it.
All right, let's start our zoom. We'll begin at the very, very top with the biosphere. That's literally planet Earth and everywhere life exists. Okay, zoom in a little, and you hit an ecosystem, maybe a coral reef, with all its living creatures and non-living things like water and sand. Zoom in again, and you'll find the community, which is all the different species in that reef. Let's narrow it down to a population of just one of those species, like a school of clownfish. And finally, we land on a single organism, one little clownfish.
But guess what? We can keep going. Inside that one fish are organ systems, which are made of organs, which themselves are made of tissues. And tissues, they're just groups of similar cells. Now, this right here is where things get really exciting. The cell, which is life's fundamental unit. But even inside the cell, you've got tiny functional parts called organelles, and inside of those, you have the very molecules that make the whole show run. Do you see how it's all connected? It's incredible.
And here is the absolute key to all of this. With every step you take up that ladder, new abilities, new properties emerge that just weren't there on the level below. For example, a heart can pump blood, right? But a single heart cell can't do that on its own. A brain can have a thought, but one single neuron can't. This is what we mean when we say a biological system is so much more than the sum of its parts. A living cell isn't just a bag of molecules.
So, after that journey all the way down the ladder of life, we finally arrived at the foundation, the cell. This is the level where all the magic really happens, and it turns out all of life is built from one of 2 basic blueprints.
So why is the cell so important? What's the big deal? Well, it's because the cell is the absolute lowest level of organization that can truly be called alive. A single cell can do everything on our list from earlier. It can make copies of itself, it can process energy, it can react to the world. It is the Lego brick of every living thing.
And all the trillions upon trillions of cells out there come in 2 basic models. You can think of prokaryotic cells like a simple studio apartment. Everything's just kind of floating around in one big open room, including the DNA. That's your bacteria. But then you've got eukaryotic cells, and these are more like a mansion. They have a special room, the nucleus, to keep the precious DNA safe and sound, plus all these other little rooms or organelles, each with its own specific job. So you, me, and our friend the mushroom, yep, we're all living in the mansion.
Okay, so now that we've got a handle on the basic building blocks, let's zoom all the way back out again. How in the world do we take these millions and millions of different species and organize them so they make any sense at all? We're going to need a really good filing system.
And lucky for us, that filing system already exists. It's called taxonomy. It is the entire field of biology dedicated to naming and classifying all of life into, you guessed it, another neat and tidy hierarchy. It's how we literally create a map of the entire living world.
This hierarchy has 8 main levels, or ranks. The best way to think about it is like a mailing address for any living thing. You start out super broad with the domain, that's like the country, and you get more and more specific, all the way down to the species, which is like the house number. And the more ranks 2 organisms share, the more closely related they are. Simple as that.
Now, trying to remember that order, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, can be a bit of a pain. So some clever biologists came up with a little trick to remember it. Kids prefer chocolate over fresh green salad. Of course, you can make up your own, whatever works to help you remember the path from the biggest group down to the smallest.
So what exactly is a species anyway? You know, that final, super specific rank? Well, it's not just about looking similar. The true biological definition is all about babies. If 2 organisms can breed, and their offspring can also grow up and have babies, then they're part of the same species. Think about it. A horse and a donkey can have a baby, a mule, but mules can't have their own babies. So, horses and donkeys, different species.
And every single species gets its own unique 2-part scientific name. The system is called binomial nomenclature, and it's actually really simple and elegant. For us humans, it's Homo sapiens. The first part, the genus, is always capitalized. The second part, the species, is always lowercase, and the whole name is always written in italics. It's a universal language that scientists all over the world can understand.
And you know, scientists definitely have a sense of humor with these names. This is a great example. A tiny little moth was recently discovered and named Neopulpa Donald Trumpy because the scientist who found it thought the yellowish-white scales on its head, well, looked a little like a particular famous hairstyle. It's a pretty memorable way to make science stick, right?
All right, let's pull our zoom lens back one last time, all the way to the very top of that filing system. Every single living thing that has ever been discovered can be sorted into just 3 massive groups called domains. This is it. This is the big picture, the complete map of life on Earth.
And this is where it all clicks into place. Remember those 2 basic cell types we talked about? The studio apartment and the mansion? Well, they form the basis for this entire map. 2 of the domains, bacteria and archaea, are all the prokaryotic studio apartments. And the 3rd domain, eukarya, is home to all of the eukaryotic mansions. And that includes us.
This chart here just lays it out perfectly. You can clearly see the 3 domains and the kingdoms that belong to them. Bacteria and archaea are our prokaryotes. And then the eukarya domain splits up into 4 major kingdoms that you might recognize: protists, fungi, plants, and animals. This is pretty much the fundamental layout of all life as we know it.
And just within that one eukarya domain, you see this incredible variety of ways to make a living. You've got plants, who make their own food from sunlight. You have fungi, who are the great recyclers, absorbing nutrients from dead stuff. Then there's us, the animals, who have to eat other things to get energy. And the protists, well, they're kind of the miscellaneous drawer for mostly single-celled eukaryotes.
Okay, so to wrap this all up, let's end with a little brain teaser to see if it all clicked. True or false? If 2 organisms are in the same genus, they must also be in the same order. Well, think back to our mailing address analogy. If you know 2 people live on the same street, then you automatically know they have to live in the same city, right? It's that same powerful, simple logic that lets us build this incredible map of life's diversity. That's all for this Explainer. Thanks so much for joining in.